Listen, this book is personally, like, the premise of this book is like my worst fucking nightmare. A plane crash and a deserted island just fucking kill me. Hi, welcome back to my channel. It's Mex here, where I talk about like media that piques my interest. Today, I am talking about Crash Landing, a romance released in April 2025. It is about Piper, a 26-year-old med student trying to make it to her friend's destination wedding in the Bahamas, but her flight there gets canceled. While there, she meets her ex, Wyatt, from high school, and he decides that she's going to help her out to get to that wedding. But as they're making it to that wedding, their plane crashes on a deserted island, and they realize their long-lost feelings for one another. Now, just to save y'all time so you don't waste any more of it, I rated this book a 2 out of 5 stars. Now, personally, I didn't really like this book. This is the author's debut novel, though, so I am being nice. That's kind of why I gave them 2 stars. I actually want to give it 1, but I was like, you know what? It's her debut. I don't want to be too mean. So I gave her 2 stars because, you know, why the hell not? Now, we start off this book with Piper on a date with her boyfriend, Tag. And Tag is already having a tough enough time being named Tag. And no, it's not spelled differently. It is spelled T-A-G. I know that he was relentlessly fucking bullied on that damn playground. I would have bullied him on that fucking playground. Me. That's saying something. But anyway, as he's kissing her, she starts to remember her ex Wyatt, which is... this man ain't gonna get no damn break. And she starts thinking about him. She starts to pack up her suitcase because it's her best friend Allie's destination wedding in the Bahamas. It's gonna be a hell of a good time. So she heads over to the airport, and while she's there, her flight gets delayed. Then it gets delayed again. And then it eventually gets completely canceled. Now she's stressing because she has to be there for her, you know, friend's bachelorette party and the wedding. And if she doesn't get there in time, then she's gonna end up missing the wedding. It's a terrible thing. My thing is, though, like, why wouldn't you have, like, left a day earlier? I'm trying to, like, be a bit more sympathetic because it's like, you know, maybe because of med school, she was, like, delayed. Like, maybe she was trying to get, like, her tests and everything done beforehand and thought that she would have enough time. But, like, still, I would personally, like, I always, if I have, like, an event that I specifically have to go to, like, my mom has instilled this within me. If you have to get somewhere for an event, like, you gotta go out to get to that event, you should at the very least go there 2 days in advance. 2 days in advance, because you never know what could happen. Because, you know, air travel can be a little tricky. Now, as she's trying to figure out what the fuck to do, guess who shows up? Her ex, Wyatt. Because I didn't mention this, Wyatt is Allie's cousin. So he's also going to the wedding. And he knows how to fly a plane. And his friend has a plane. So he offers up to Piper, hey, I can, like, you know, fly us over to that wedding. It'll be no issue. I know how to fly pretty well. I got my license. So she's just like, you know what? I'm desperate as shit. Let's go. And then the plane fucking crashes because of weather. Like, it's almost as if they canceled that flight for a reason. But anyway, this book kind of goes about between the past and the present very often. Once the plane crashes, we get, like, a flashback sequence, and then we go back to the present. Flashback sequence again, back to the present. We do this over and over and over again. So to just save you guys some time, I'm just going to talk about all of the past events that happened first, and then we can talk about all the present events later, because, you know, it just makes things a little bit more quicker. It's honestly the only thing that's, like, kind of, like, giving this book, like, as much, I guess, page time, like, as much word count as possible. Because I feel like if you took out, like, all of the flashback sequences, or at least remove, like, a decent amount of the flashback sequences, yeah, this book, it was, I feel like it was way too long than it was supposed to be, because it's, like, a little over 300 pages. And me personally, it should have at, like, max been 250. If we want to be really generous, like, 265. But that's it. I really don't think that this book should have been anywhere over 300 pages, because it, well, we're going to get into it a little bit more later, but let's get into the flashback sequences. Now, how they first met. Now, Piper had a little clubhouse that her parents built because her and her best friend Allie lived like right next door to each other. So by the property, there's a little clubhouse, a little more into like a wooded area. And when she goes there, she sees a boy. She's like, "What are you doing here?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm Allie's cousin. My name's Wyatt." Now, she sees him reading one of her favorite book series, and it's the newest book from the series. And she's like, "Oh my gosh, I wanted that book so badly, but it's sold out, so I gotta wait until it comes back in store." So he's like, "Oh, well, I don't have an issue with starting over, so we could read this book together if you want." And that's what starts their little friendship. Another flashback, they're now in high school. Both of them are at a party and they're playing 7 Minutes in Heaven. They spin the bottle. You go in the closet with whoever it hits on, and I've never done that before. Don't look at me. I've never done that shit. But Piper gets picked to kiss this jock, and she doesn't want to kiss him. So then Wyatt steps in, and he's like the big, burly, like tough guy. So he's like, "Oh, well, you can have her. I don't give a shit." So they end up being in the closet. And they have a little talk and a little kiss on the cheek. It's a little cute little thing. Then this girl Kiara comes in, and Kiara, I don't think that the author meant this purposefully. And you know what? There could be white people with the last name Gomez. I mean, my last name is Gonzalez, and look at Danny Gonzalez. Not a damn bit of line in that plan. But regardless of all of that, it did give a very weird dynamic of like Kiara seems to be like trying to take Piper's man, and a possible Latina woman going after a blonde white woman's white guy has a few connotations that might not have been purposeful, but were definitely there. Again, I'm not saying that the author did that on purpose. I'm just saying that that's a like stereotype that can very easily be looked past because, well, it's very easy to look past those types of stereotypes. But, it's not the author's fault. The author probably didn't realize it could have been a possible stereotype. It's not like she specifically mentions or does like a lot of indicators that would show, oh, she's Latin American or she's Latina, Mexican or something. She just has the last name Gomez, so I'm just making the assumption that she's a Latina. I make that assumption with a lot of people who have Hispanic last names. Anyway, at the party, she sees her flirting with Wyatt. I keep forgetting his name. So she sees her flirting with Wyatt, and she gets so depressed about this, she starts drinking, like a lot, like a shit ton, like buzzballs. And then, she's so drunk that the jock guy who was trying to kiss her earlier tries to take not advantage. He tries to get her into his car, and we can make the assumption of what would have happened, if, Wyatt didn't come up and save her. They drive around. He gives her some McDonald's because she's hungover. Well, I guess she's just more drunk. And they have like that sweet little moment. It's nothing too bad, honestly. The next one happens at a fair, and this one just kind of like made me a little pissed. Like, I was just like, this is so fucking stupid. It's like they decide to ride the Ferris wheel, and of course, in fictional fashion, the Ferris wheel stops. So of course Piper is afraid of heights, so she's scared fucking shitless. I can't blame her either. So then Wyatt decides to sing Ain't No Mountain High Enough to like help calm her down. And I wouldn't even have a problem with that if it wasn't for the fact that like they say straight up that like other people in like accompanying Ferris wheels and accompanying cars are also singing the song, and then the entire Ferris wheel is singing Ain't No Mountain High Enough. Like, this is the most and everyone clap moment I've ever heard in my fucking life. Like, let's be for real. Like, I'm not trying to be mean. Like, I could maybe understand maybe one, neighboring car being like, okay, like, yeah, let's make a good out of a situation. But like, every single car started singing Ain't No Mountain High Enough. Really? I'm not gonna get too into it, okay? I'm just not. This one is a little bit sadder. You see, Piper's friend Ethan has a car, and they decide to go and visit Wyatt because he lives 2 hours away in a different town from them. So they decide to drive over for his birthday. They got a cake and everything, balloons. They're ready to go. He lives in a more poverty-stricken area, and they go inside to see him, as opposed to them, because Piper and her friends live in what's, we can assume, a very rich suburb. They live in Cedar Falls, North Carolina. I've never been to North Carolina before. I've been to Miami and I've been to Texas, but I've never been to North Carolina, so I don't really know how well off Cedar Falls is, but I'm assuming it's a pretty well off community, since Wyatt straight up tells Piper, our lives are so different. You have a life where it's about being rich and going to college and traveling the world, and mine's is slicking back beers in a poverty-stricken neighborhood. So, it has those connotations in there that it's a very rich neighborhood. So they're there, and then they're wondering where his mom is, and then his mom shows up drunk as a skunk. And not only does she not remember that today was her son's birthday, but she also forgot what age her son was turning. She thought he was turning 16, he's turning 17. So, not really winning Mother of the Year. But, they're all there to kind of help comfort him, and you can kind of tell he's a bit embarrassed about it, though. Next up is a flashback that made me a bit frustrated, and I kind of wish that they kind of got in trouble for this one, because it would put a bit more of a precedent for Piper's mom not really trusting Wyatt, or at the very least saying, you could understand a little bit more why she's oh, he's a bad influence on my daughter. Now, the book series that they basically help them connect to each other is doing filming in their neighborhood. Also, I forgot to mention, Wyatt is getting ready to do boot camp. He's about to go into boot camp for the army. So, she's all oh, yeah, they're doing filming. And he's listen, it's our senior year. Why don't we skip and go and see that fucking filming? And she's just I don't know. We already have senior skip day. And he's just come on, it'll be nothing. Let's just go. So they decide to go. Now, it wouldn't be an issue if they just sat around and watched it and stuff like that. But what does he decide? Hey, let's go see if we can get in on the action. And they go over to the PA and ask if they can be extras in the film. Now, in a normal situation, security would be called. And the PA straight up says this too. She's I would normally call security, but coincidentally, in fictional fashion, the extras have called out sick. So now she can use them as extras instead. And not only that, the extras' outfits fit these underage kids perfectly. Isn't that something? And not only that, but in fictional fashion, they get to play a couple for an opening shot. What a coinky-dink. What? That's so shocking. I would have more appreciated if they did get in trouble for this. Maybe they were trying to sneak in or something like that, and then that could really be a catalyst for Piper's mom and maybe her dad as well to be yeah, I don't think I like this guy being around our daughter. He is a bit of a bad influence on her. Because any of the bad influence things that they kind of want to accuse Wyatt of aren't even bad influence stuff. It's just normal teenage stuff. Oh, she stayed an hour past curfew. And even then, technically, it wasn't even an hour past, because she's allowed to stay up until 11 if she's with her friends. But now if it's her boyfriend, it's supposed to be 10 o'clock. So technically speaking, she's still abiding by her curfew. And even then, he still gets her back to the house on time, even though she doesn't want to go back. He's yeah, no, I gotta make sure you get back home. I don't want your parents getting upset. So even he's being more responsible than she is. So, the fuck? But, of course, her parents find out because it makes front page news that, well, there's a film shoot in their neighborhood. And they took pictures and, yeah, they ended up being front page news. I'm going to combine these two flashbacks together. Piper goes to Brown with Wyatt, and then Wyatt walks her home, and they end up kissing, and this starts their little summer fling that starts their relationship. Honestly, they weren't really boyfriend and girlfriend. It was more so they had a friendship. That friendship became a crush, and then they kind of were in an actual semi-serious relationship for a bit of a month, a little over a month, not even 2 months, a month is how long they were in an actual committed relationship. Next up, Piper goes on a date with Wyatt. She's not really disobeying her curfew, but again, this does make her parents, more specifically her mother, upset. Piper's parents have a fundraiser to attend, so they decide to spend time together in the clubhouse. Spend time together. Yeah, they fucked. They had sex. She of course tells her mom, like, we didn't have sex, nothing happened, but like, come on now. Your daughter is going against curfew. It's her very first boyfriend. She just graduated high school. They spent the entire night in a clubhouse. What mom is believing that fucking bullshit? Shit, you can't even be in the gynecologist with your mom at the same time and say, oh yeah, I'm not sexually intimate, without them looking at you suspiciously. Like, no, mom, I haven't had fucking sex. And finally, and this is like the big final catalyst event, with their friendship, this is the thing that like ends their friendship, their relationship, basically everything, and why they don't talk to each other for a good 8 years. Oh, I moved my camera by accident. So this is the reason why they didn't talk to each other for 8 years. Now, when Piper wakes up, she hears her parents and I keep forgetting Wyatt and her parents are arguing, but she doesn't hear the specifics of that argument. And we do later find out that the specifics of that argument were that her parents didn't think he was a good influence on her, and that they wouldn't pay their daughter's tuition if she continued to date him. Like, I don't know, maybe the reason your daughter wouldn't be going to university isn't because of her boyfriend, but because you're withholding her fucking tuition money. I don't know. I mean, I'm no genius, but like, I'm pretty sure not having tuition money would stop me from going to college. In fact, that's what stopped me from going to a mainland university in the first place. So, hey, if the shoe fits. But anyway, she goes over to confront him and is like, listen, did something happen with you and my parents? What's going on? Of course, he doesn't want to communicate because he loves shutting himself down and shutting people out because, that's the coping mechanism. But he's like, listen, don't worry, just meet me at the clubhouse later tonight. So she gets to the clubhouse early because she's a very, timely person. She's always there 10 minutes early. That's just how she is. And he's just like, oh, you're here early. I want to break up. This is just a summer fling. We should have fun. Your parents are right. And she's just like, oh, come on. Like, are you really serious? Like, what's going on? And then Kiara comes in and she's just like, oh, you invited me here to, And he's just like, oh, come on. Are you serious? Like, you're leaving me for Kiara? Like, seriously? And like, I understand why he did it in like the sense of like, oh, you want to make sure that she does the thing and, pursues the future that she wants. But at the same time, I feel like that was needlessly cruel to invite a girl that that she's jealous of to like stage a makeout. Like, thank God that she came 10 minutes early, because the original plan was to stage a makeout. That would have been 10 times worse. Dear God. Like, that's just, like, you guys couldn't, like, just stage a breakup and, like, tell her parents, hey, sorry, but, like, your daughter, yeah, we broke up, this, that, and the other, and, like, just pretend. He's going to boot camp in, like, 2 weeks anyway, so, like, it would make it even easier to, like, act like the breakup was because of, like, boot camp. That's just me, though. Also, I can't imagine, like, being a parent and having to comfort my child after their first breakup, knowing damn well that I'm the reason for that breakup. That has to be a type of sociopathy, right? Has to be a mental illness, right? But regardless of it all, now we're finally into the crash. So day one, not a whole lot is really happening. Piper is very dazed and confused. She is rescued out of the wreckage by Wyatt, who ends up burning his hand slightly. They receive very minimal injuries for a plane that split in two. Yeah, the plane split in two. And then the seat that she was in, like the part of the plane she was in that she got rescued from, was gonna like sink into the ocean. So, real lucky. Whoever their guardian angels are, they were working overtime to make sure they stayed alive. But regardless of any of that, they make it to shore. She's dazed and confused. she has like a gash on her head, and we learned that it was like deep enough where it needed stitches, but like it wasn't too bad where it got like sepsis or anything, and she didn't have like any type of concussion. Wyatt had we really don't know what type of burn he had. He said that he burned his hand, but we don't know if it was like a surface burn or like a full-on first degree, second degree burn. But seeing how he doesn't really complain about pain throughout the entire week, I'm gonna make the assumption that it was just surface level. Next up is day 2. Piper is a little bit more aware about her surroundings, and we get a whole assessment of the situation. Now, Wyatt thinks that they are somewhere between Miami, the coast of Miami, and somewhere between the coast of Miami and the Turks and Caicos Islands. Now, again, the possible route that they would have to have taken would be Atlanta, Georgia, because that's where she was going. She was coming from Georgia to go to the Bahamas. And I'm assuming that she's going to Nassau in the Bahamas, because Nassau is the capital city of the Bahamas. It's the most touristy destination of the Bahamas. So it does, and it's very popular for wedding venues. So I am assuming that, like, yeah, that's probably where the wedding's being hosted. So I know this is a map, just so you know. This is where the Turks and Caicos is. That's where Miami is. How the fuck did you end up all the way down there when you're supposed to be up there? New Providence is up, not down. Well, I guess going from Atlanta to there, it is technically down, but like, you know what I'm getting at. You know where I'm talking about. It's a little more northern than Turks and Caicos, unless the author didn't realize. And like, I'm trying to have like the biggest, like, again, if someone's watching this who does search and rescue, correct me if I'm wrong, but like, I'm trying to have so much grace for the rescue team, because the Bahamas is an archipelago with over 700 islands. And even then, that's just the estimate. That 700 islands is the estimate of how many islands are in the Bahamas. So it could be more than that. It could also be less than that, but it's possibly more than that. So I'm trying to have a bit of leeway, but like, I feel like the radius of where that plane would have crashed is very small. And when we get to the last day, I'm going to tell you why it's even more frustrating. Now, their food situation is they have water that can last them a few days. They have food that can last them a little over 2 days, maybe 3 if they really push it. But that's about it from like the airport and stuff. Now, there is a radio, but he says he can't get it fixed. He doesn't know what to do with it. Coincidentally, Piper is obsessed with like old-timey inventions and was in love with like movies from the 30s and 40s. So she knows how to disassemble and reassemble a radio, because she also took like a radio class or was in some sort of like radio broadcasting while she was at university. So I guess that works out really good for her. It's also a bit embarrassing for him. How the fuck were you in the army and you don't know how to disassemble a radio? That's literally on the ASVAB. I won't get too much into it. They end up contacting the Coast Guard. And not only do they contact the Coast Guard, they have a very clear connection with the Coast Guard. Like, there's nothing indicating within the text that like the reception is bad or they could barely hear them. Like, they can hear them pretty clearly. Now, again, I don't know how far radios go, but I'm making the assumption that it could be anywhere between, and seeing that how this might be a very specific radio for aviation or for like rescue, then I'm assuming that radio has even more mileage on it. So let's make the assumption that that radio has about 60 to 100 miles on it. That means that that ship would have had to been in very close proximity to them to even like hear their radio signal. Also, again, could be wrong, but can't they also like kind of track where the radio is coming from? If not get an exact estimate, they can at least estimate a very close destination. Not to mention, I'm pretty sure the plane would have also had its final destination. So why exactly is it taking so long? Again, it's going to take a really long time. You're going to think it's going to be really quickly because, you know, they already on day 2 have contacted the Coast Guard. So how long could it possibly take? They contacted the Coast Guard 50 pages in. Like I said, this book is a little over 300 pages. So what the fuck we gonna do for 250 pages? This author made sure to like really extend this stay at the deserted island. And that's my other key issue with this. I feel like it could have been easily resolved because, like, you know, the thing about people being stuck on a deserted island is that it's a very dire situation. How much water are they going to have? Like, fresh drinking water, because, you know, salt water, you can't really drink that without having some, like, pretty serious side effects. It's not that they have, like, a pot and something to, like, you know, cook it up and make sure that they try and, like, take out as much salt as possible. So, how much fresh water do they have to drink? How much food do they have? How much this do they have? What if one of them is, like, a little injured or is starting to show signs of something more serious, like sepsis? What exactly are we going to do? So that kind of adds into this emergency to it, like this urgency that you have and like this anxiety. But that anxiety kind of gets like wiped away when you realize, you know, they've already contacted the Coast Guard. They have a radio that they can use to contact for help. And if anything gets dire, they can just like contact the radio and be like, hey, we're in pretty dire straits. Something bad's happened. Can you please hurry? So it's like, why would I feel any type of urgency for these characters or be stressed out about these characters when, you know, they literally have help on the way? Hell, the fucking search and rescue was being done like a day earlier. Like, they literally said they've been on active search and rescue for like since yesterday. So they've been doing search and rescue for a bit. So what's there to really talk about? And on day 3, Piper's still a little bit upset with Wyatt. This was another issue I kind of had, where it's like, I kind of wish they butted heads a little bit more to like kind of like really show this like bitter exes type, well, not bitter, but at the very least, like, you know, this type of like diseconomy, like this discord that they have from what happened in the past. But that's not really what happens. It's like they have a little attitude, maybe some sass, but that only lasts for like maybe a few paragraphs. It doesn't last long. So am I supposed to care? Anyway, they find some berries and papayas, and Wyatt puts some seaweed out to dry, and Piper makes this like really strange line, which I think is like stupid, where she's like, you know, I'm more of a French fry girl, not a side salad type of girl. Bitch, we are on a deserted fucking island. If you don't eat that fucking seaweed and get over yourself, like, that shit is so annoying. Like, you're not better than someone because you eat French fries and they eat a salad. And you're not better than someone because you eat salad and they eat French fries. You're not a better person because you enjoy pure black coffee made from Arabia and someone else prefers a caramel frap. Like, can we please stop this whole thing? Like, people can like what they like and eat what they like, and there's nothing wrong with that. I don't know why people need to act as if they need to be different. It's like, oh, you see, you don't like matcha because it doesn't have sugar. And it's like, I don't know, maybe people just don't like matcha because it's a little bitter. Like, I drank matcha. It's not bad. I liked it. I thought it was good, but like, it does have a bit of a bitter aftertaste, like a slightly bitter aftertaste. My grandma drank matcha. My 85-year-old, she's turning 85 next month, but my 85-year-old grandma drank matcha, and even she didn't like it. This woman drinks lemongrass tea straight, no sugar, and she didn't like matcha. That says something. But I liked it. I thought it was okay. I just don't think that the cafe I bought it from was doing a good job with it. But regardless of all of that, but Wyatt later in the night has a PTSD nightmare because he was deployed to somewhere in the Middle East. I don't think the author specifically stated where in the Middle East he was deployed, but he was deployed somewhere in the Middle East. And I do appreciate the author. Like, this is the actual good thing that she did by, while she didn't go in depth about the military-industrial complex, you know, she did actually address it, which, you know, I kind of appreciate, because, you know, reading a romance book, I'm not exactly expecting the military-industrial complex to pop up. But it did. And she did discuss it. Even if it was rather surface level, she still did discuss it. And I think that that's a very important thing to do. So, kudos to you on that, Anna. I really appreciate that. Next up, we have day 4. Piper radios in again, and the lady who she talked to, Mrs. Sanchez, is like, listen, we're having a plane come out to you tomorrow because there was a tropical storm. That tropical storm hit the island they were on. That was one weak ass tropical storm. You're telling me that makeshift shelter didn't like collapse on them from the wind? Must have been one weak ass tropical storm. I've been through like what, 3 Cat 5 hurricanes, 5 Cat 4 hurricanes, 10 Cat 3. Like, just to say, I've been through quite a few fucking hurricanes. I'm just saying, like, that was probably some pussy ass fucking tropical storm. It probably wasn't even 40 miles per hour. It probably wasn't even 40 miles per hour with how fucking weak it was. But anyway, now during this, Piper finds their Yeti cooler, which had like some additional like snacks and stuff, so that's really good. So then Wyatt's like, oh, if they're there, then that means that we might be able to find like some other stuff too. So they decide to go in the ocean, do some exploring. They find a flare gun, so they use that to like help with like, you know, when the plane comes to like signal off. Then after that, they also try to find more food, and even though Piper's like telling Wyatt, hey, we should like just stop now, we got really lucky. Now, does a white man ever listen? Does a man listen in general? No. That motherfucker dies back down, ends up hitting his head, gets a concussion, and then ends up getting a cut on his leg. I don't think I gotta tell you what's gonna happen to a guy who got a cut on his leg where there's no, you know, hospital for like quite some time. I think we can all make the assumption about what's gonna happen next. Anyway, they have like a little fancy celebratory dinner, and you know, they have sex too. I'm not shocked by that. You know, they're on an island. What else is there to do but fuck, honestly? I don't blame them. I'm a lesbian. If there was only a guy there, I too would be like, you know what, just dick me down. Ain't nothing really to do. I don't know what you want me to do. Next is day 6, because that was day 5. So finally we hear a plane. They've been on this island for 5 fucking days, and this is the first time we hear a plane. Crazy. Now, they fire the flare, but unfortunately they're not high enough. Because they aren't high enough, the plane doesn't see them, and it's like a whole big thing. And it's like, I couldn't even take like this third act conflict seriously, because it's like, what about this am I supposed to take seriously? You have a radio. You can communicate with them, like right now. Like, hurry up and get a signal. And then surprisingly enough, the radio doesn't want to work, even though it worked twice in the span of 2 days, getting a clear fucking signal. But when an airplane is really flying overhead, all of a sudden they can't get any type of signal. Well, isn't that just convenient? I'm not trying to be mean, I'm just saying, like, isn't that really, really convenient? I digress, though. It feels like plot convenience. It's very much plot convenience. Like, the radio that was working perfectly fine no longer works, and in fact the battery dies by like day 7. So it's like, wow, isn't that real convenient? The plane that was going to help them flies off and doesn't see their flare gun. Their SOS message gets like washed off from the beach, where it's like, what the fuck were you using for your SOS message that it got washed off the beach? They left their cooler by the water that had all their food and their fishing nets. Again, why would you do that? That just seems fucking stupid. And then they get into a whole argument of like, oh my god, you see, this is all just a mistake. This is all just a mistake, and we should just forget that it happened. And it's like, girl, get your overdramatic ass over this shit and start radioing in it. Like, come on now. Let's get over ourselves. But now, you know, things are getting serious, because Wyatt's going into septic shock. Oh yeah, did I forget to mention that? Yeah, he's going into septic. Yeah, day 7, shit is getting real. Wyatt is in active septic shock. He is disoriented, he is passing out, the wound is getting seriously infected. Thankfully, it hasn't reached his bloodstream. Could you imagine if it reached his bloodstream? Homegirl would have had to cut that fucking leg off. Because she was technically studying to be a surgeon. Granted, a surgeon who is afraid of blood. A surgeon nonetheless. That would have been really interesting. Like, oh, look at her. She's got to get it done. That would have been horrifying. But interesting. Mostly horrifying, though. But anyway, she hears a plane overhead and is like, oh my gosh, this is my chance. So she climbs up the cliff. She fires the flare gun. She fires it twice. And thankfully, they finally see her, and they come down in the helicopter to come and get them. Now, I want y'all to put your guesses in the comments. How far away do you think Wyatt and Piper were from civilization? Put in all your guesses. I'm going to give you some time, okay? If you guess less than an hour away from civilization, you would be right. You see why it's really hard giving this rescue team grace? Because it's like, this rescue team has so much good going for them. The plane probably has the estimated coordinates of where they probably crashed. They literally contact you on day 2 to tell you that they're on a deserted island and that they're okay. And they contact you again day 4 saying, hey, we're still here. When are you guys coming? Like, at this point, like, what were you guys doing? Like, the ship would have had to have been so close by, because, yeah, less than an hour, like, okay, I'm trying to be a bit more kind about it because it's less than an hour and they're in a helicopter. So, you know, that takes off of time. But if they were on a boat, then that was like anywhere between 2 to 3 hours. Shit, depending on how close that boat was, it could have been even less than an hour. So, what can I say? I would crash out so fucking hard. I would crash out so damn hard if I were to figure out that it took an entire week to rescue me. An entire week to rescue me. And we were only an hour away from civilization. We were an hour helicopter ride away from civilization. Oh my god, I would be so mad. Like, that would like keep me up at night. Like, I spent 7 days malnourished, injured, dehydrated on a deserted island, and I was an hour away from civilization. It took 7 days for them to find an island that was an hour away from civilization. Like, oh my god. Like, hearing that would have put me over the edge. Like, to hear the person who's coming to rescue you being like, oh yeah, we're like an hour away from the hospital. She didn't even say an hour. She said less than an hour. So that could have been 40 to 50 minutes. So even less than a fucking hour. Oh my god. You want to know how crazy that is? On the island that I live on is a 40-minute plane ride from where I live to Puerto Rico. A 2-hour boat ride. If we did a boat ride, it would be 2 hours, like a little over 2 hours. That's crazy. So they get rescued by like page 220, and there's still 80 more pages of this book. At this point, I just skimmed it because honestly, those additional 80 pages were not necessary at all. Literally, like, the last 8 chapters really could have been condensed into like 3 chapters, 4 at the max. Like, it's just the recovery and the aftermath of it all. Like, Allie still had her wedding because everyone forced her to do it, even though she said that she was a fucking emotional disaster, because of course you would be an emotional fucking disaster. You don't know whether or not your cousin and your best friend are fucking alive. The maid of honor's plane crashed. Like, the woman who's literally supposed to be standing right next to the bride could be dead, and she doesn't know. She literally said that she was an emotional wreck. She was crying through the entire ceremony. Like, I feel like this is one of those situations where it's like, yeah, maybe canceling the event is actually a good thing. I don't know. If I was getting married and the day before I got married, my mom went missing, I don't care how much money I spent on that fucking wedding. It's getting canceled. It's so canceled. It's so canceled. I'm not having that fucking wedding. I don't care what anyone says about, like, it's what your mother would have wanted. Like, nah. In fact, I think my mom would be pissed the fuck off. Like, how dare you have your wedding while I'm missing? But anyway, it's just Piper's mom books a plastic surgeon for Piper's scar, which is like, okay, that's really the concern that we're having. She's dehydrated, malnourished, and everything else under the sun, and you're thinking about booking a fucking cosmic surgeon? Like, what the hell? For a scar? And it's like we don't really get a visual of like how big the scar is, but I'm assuming it's like, you know, like about that, which isn't like awful. She could probably hide that pretty well with like makeup or something. And Piper and Wyatt are still miscommunicating. Literally, like she tries to call him and he tries to call her and they're not getting each other. And then Allie is like, wait, let me see your phone. They have each other blocked. That wasn't the first thing you decided to check. You didn't think it was weird that you guys couldn't contact each other at all? And you didn't think to check if maybe you guys blocked each other? Because again, you didn't talk to one another for like quite a few years. But I guess that thought never came to mind. Piper tells her parents that she's a grown-ass woman and she wants to do whatever she wants, and decides that she's going to go to Denver to become a librarian. Hell yeah, we need more librarians. You know, yeah, hell yeah, I'm down for that. Also, she breaks up with Tag. Granted, she breaks up with him in front of not just her parents, but his parents as well. Tag can't get a fucking break. I feel really bad for the guy. Next up, we have Allie is 6 months pregnant. I mean, sorry, she's not 6 months pregnant. She gets pregnant 6 months later in the epilogue. Probably even earlier because she has a noticeable baby bump. So, fucking shit. That woman got married like, what, 4 months after and already has a baby on the way. Like, Oliver and her got to work. They really got to work. they really got to work. But that kind of had me thinking about Piper. That really had me thinking about Piper and Wyatt. I mean, they've been through so much together. I kind of wondered to myself, would those two be able to survive marriage? And so that's what inspired this brand new segment I'm introducing for any romantic couple called Will They Survive Marriage? Welcome everyone, I'm your host, Mex with a blazer, because I don't want to do any additional laundry. In this segment, we're going to be talking about will they survive marriage? This segment is pretty simple. In this, we finish a book or a book series and discuss any couple that got together. This only counts for couples that canonically get together. No hypotheticals or heavily implies. Only canon couples. Now, we decide whether or not, based off the text, will these characters' love life last, and will they survive marriage? Now, Piper is our first contestant. She's a 26-year-old med student who's caring, but a bit of a goody two-shoes. She's organized, sweet, and timely. Her more negative traits are low self-esteem, easily frustrated / discouraged, and people-pleasing. Next up is Wyatt. He is a 26-year-old Army veteran with PTSD. He's funny, caring, and resourceful. His bad qualities are shutting people out and pushing them away, easily frustrated, and stubborn. Now, with their romantic history, they met when they were very young and stayed together for a very long time, developing a crush and then that crush proceeding into a semi-serious relationship for a very short amount of time. Now, when we come to this, we have to think about, well, what could have been. Now, technically speaking, if Piper's parents hadn't gotten involved, they probably would have stayed a couple. But because they did get involved, they did not end up staying a couple. Now, throughout the book, we do see that these feelings were there and still stayed there. Piper sent flowers to his mother's funeral because his mother passed away last year, and he did receive the flowers, and he was very appreciative of them. We also find out that when he was abroad, well, when he was deployed, he kept a picture of Piper by his bedstand, and, I mean, that's a little creepy to do for someone who hasn't talked to you for, like, 8 years, but, who am I to judge, you know? What am I to say? I mean, I think it's weird, but hey, it could be romantic. Kinda. Not really. Anyway, now, during these 8 years of no contact, they still did think about each other. Even in the very beginning, Piper talks about, you know, wanting to kiss Wyatt when she's kissing Tag. The poor fella. I really do feel bad for him. However, we do also have to think, how exactly is this very traumatic situation kind of like, you know, messing up their dichotomy? Because, yeah, crash landing on a deserted island kind of causes you to trauma bond a little bit it does make you wonder how much of this like second chance romance is actually just adrenaline rush. I'm just saying, a little adrenaline rush goes a very long way. Now, here's what I think is going to happen. Will they survive? Well, let's see. I say they do get married. And then 10 years down the line, they have a very big fight, like a super big fight. And after that, they separate for, I'll give it 2 to 5 years. But then they realize that they still do love each other and that they want to be together forever. And then they will die together. Well, maybe not die together, but they'll, live until they die, forever until they part. So they will survive marriage. Thank you guys for tuning into this brand new segment. Hopefully we can continue this and it's a little better and more polished next time. Before I close the video off, I do want to give out a bit of a congratulations to Anna, okay? I know you guys probably saw this video and were like, Mex, you rated this 2 out of 5 stars. You talked pretty badly about this book. But the thing is, this is Anna's debut novel. Like, this is her very first time putting an actual piece of work out there to be published to the public. So, in a sense, that's a very big accomplishment. And while me personally, I didn't enjoy it, I know that there's probably a lot of people who did enjoy it. And I think Anna should very much focus more on the people that enjoyed that and not me not enjoying it. Now, Anna, if you are seeing this, though I highly doubt you are because it's probably not good for you to look at bad reviews for your book. But if you are seeing this, just know I'm actually pretty proud of you. Even if I didn't like your book, it takes a lot of courage to release a piece of fiction out into the world. And you did a pretty good job. Your writing, it wasn't bad. Sure, there were a few things that I didn't personally like, but with a bit of improvement, you're gonna get better. So I'm sure you're gonna make another great and better book. And maybe I'll read it. Maybe. Heavy emphasis on maybe. But I hope that you don't get discouraged by seeing negative reviews and you keep pursuing making more books. And I hope that you do a great job with whatever more books you try to make. Thanks a lot, Anna. Now, we can finally end this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you appreciated the video. Anna, if you're watching this, you probably shouldn't because, again, you shouldn't watch negative reviews for your book. But if you are, congratulations on your first book. Many more to come. Now, like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.